We are on Audubon Road in the Myrtle Grove Estates subdivision. Behind me is a construction crew working tonight to shore up the street. And as you can see, the roadway is sinking into a nearby canal. This is just some of the damage caused when the tidal surge associated with Barry washed over the back levees here, sending 2 to 4 feet of water through this stretch of Plaquemines Parish. Governor John Bel Edwards toured Hurricane Barry's storm damage in Plaquemines Parish by air and airboat. The governor joined Parish President Kirk Lapine and other local leaders on a brief tour of the levees that overtopped as Barry made landfall along the Louisiana coast. This is what it looked like on Saturday as a 6-foot wall of water washed over the 4-foot-high back levees in the Myrtle Grove area. This is what the levees looked like on Monday. Barry took large bites out of the earth and flood control structures, leaving them pockmarked and damaged.
When we overflew, we saw the Point Celeste had some issues where super sacks were there, but it's a construction site. It wasn't all the way cordoned off with the super sack, so there was some infiltration of water that obviously we didn't want.
While crews work to repair the levees, pumping is underway to dewater areas that flooded in Plaquemines Parish. Some roads in the Myrtle Grove Estates subdivision were washed down and ripped apart by Barry's storm surge. The parish president said they are making progress in repairing the storm damage.
The pumping stations are actively working now, and anything was there, we're pumping it back out to the marsh. The governor was so gracious, he sent down 12 pumps.
Plaquemines leaders are now pushing the federal government to expedite a long-awaited project to raise the back levees from the current 4 feet to 13 feet high.
Whatever issues need to be mitigated, we need to get this done. This is going to happen again.
Obviously, we're gratified that we did not get the full amount of rain across Louisiana and the flooding that we had been told to expect. We're also very thankful for the fact that the Mississippi River stayed within the levees.
And Plaquemines Parish leaders told me before the governor left here, they discussed the possibility of the Louisiana National Guard using Black Hawk helicopters to drop giant sandbags, 2,000-pound sandbags like this one, onto the back levees until permanent repairs can be made. We're live in Myrtle Grove. Paul Murphy, Eyewitness News.
Thank you so much.